Good morning, Big Brother fans. It is Thursday, August 28th, and day 52, Eviction Day. And once again, well, first of all, I'm not sure who's going to go. That's up in the air. Not a ton has gone on in the last 24 hours, although, as I said, I'm not sure who's going, so a little bit's gone on. Let's see. Sorry. Where to start? The day was relatively quiet. Just not a lot was going on, which is great because I've been busy as heck in real life, so it's been hard for me to keep tabs on stuff. But the thing that I thought might happen kind of has started to happen, in that Ava is being seen as an option, in that, and this is my view per se, but the fact that people are talking about it also, it's like, well, if she's so safe to put people up against because no one will vote her out, maybe we should vote her out, right? It's that never-ending, well, if they're that good at not being evicted, maybe we ought to get him out because people will want to vote for them in the end. So she came up as a possibility. The biggest thing from that was late in the afternoon, and I would imagine this will make TV. Lauren and Ashley were talking in what we call the train room. It's like a train car with bunk beds, right? It's got 6 bunk beds on one side, stacked, and they're kind of enclosed a little bit. They actually put in extra cameras so that you can see into those spaces because they're kind of a little bit secluded, a little bit private, and you don't necessarily see. It's happened in more than one occasion now where Ava has been laying in her bed, which is the furthest away from the door, in the top, so it's kind of tucked away. Ava was in there again today, and Lauren and last night, and Ava and Lauren are having a conversation. Ashley and Lauren were having a conversation, and they were talking about the votes and stuff. It was fairly innocent as far as, if you think about it, if you're overhearing people talk about it and they're not saying horrible things about you, then you should consider it a win. Because you have two people that are kind of circling each other and playing the game about what do I say to the other person, and they so they're doing that kind of circling thing, but they're being probably somewhat mostly honest with each other, but you never know for sure. And they didn't say anything terrible about Ava through all of this. The worst that happened was Lauren did kind of say, well, if it comes down to if it comes down between Catherine and Ava, I'm not sure who I'll vote for because I'm kind of close to both of them. That was the worst that was said that I saw. If that's the worst that somebody says, in a conversation they think is private, then you're winning, in my opinion. But anyways, Ava's up in her bunk, pretending to sleep while this conversation's going on. They get up and leave. Her eyes open. She looks at the camera like, oh boy, this is awkward. This is strange. And then at one point, Lauren comes back in and realizes that Ava was up there and kind of goes, Ava, and Ava acts like she's waking up. And she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were asleep. But Lauren realizes, oh my gosh, Ava was up there. She could have heard what Ashley and I were saying. And they rehash this conversation with Vince and tell him. And in the end, Lauren freaked out about it more than Ashley. Of course, Ashley is the one that was wavering on whether to vote out Ava or not, right? So I don't think it's anything critical. The biggest thing that came out of it was Ava then went and talked to Will and said, it's kind of settling in. I may go home tomorrow. I think Will was probably reassuring and said, you'll be okay. But Will also said, whatever happens, you're going to be okay. But it was more of the whole weight of the world coming down on her, like, oh my gosh, I may be out in the real world again starting tomorrow. And how's that going to be? Because I'm used to this life now. It was an interesting thought from her. Like, my life has changed. How's that going to work? And Will was not sugarcoating it. He was like, yeah, it's going to be different. You are now going to be recognized places. You are going to be seen, and it's true. She will be. She's a distinct character, right? She dresses a certain way. She carries herself a certain way. People are going to notice her. So, not in a bad way. But that all happened. She kind of teared up. She kind of got emotional. She did those things. So this all may make the show tomorrow. I would show this tonight if they have the time, because it's a connection with Ava. It shows her. It kind of, it warms you up. It's a good heartstring moment, and it's not drama. It's just, oh, look at her, and anyways. But it may not make. Plus, it's an interesting awkward moment when they're talking and she's laying up in bed listening. So that was that possibly the most dramatic thing that happened yesterday? I'm trying to think if anything else really super dramatic happened. Again, the Have-Nots ended. They were excited about that. But yeah, there was some campaigning going on, but nothing tremendous. And again, it just was a sense of, people are kind of like, well, what we were saying before was they're going to vote out if it's Kelly up on the block at the end. If Kelly doesn't win the blockbuster, she's going to go home. Well, I don't know now. I'm not sure. There may be people that see Ava as more of a threat, because a threat to win than a threat to get somebody out, I guess, is the way I want to say it. Like a threat, like, well, if Ava is such a great person to put up there because no one will vote her out, I don't want to be up against her. I should get her out. All right, I'm talking in circles, and I've probably made my point, so we'll shut up now. It's going to be a short one this morning because it just wasn't a huge day of activity. It was a quiet Wednesday. But again, we call it Waffle Wednesday, and there was waffling, and there was potential change. So what happens tonight is very much in the air. I may do a podcast this afternoon on the way home, because we've been seeing the blockbuster tease late in the day every day now. So that should happen again. So I may, after I see what the blockbuster looks like, jump on here and let you guys know what I think might happen, because that'll be something interesting to talk about. And maybe things will have fleshed out a little bit more, although once again, today being a Thursday, the feeds tend to be down a lot because the house guests are locked up in rooms while the house is prepped for the show. They're getting ready, they're cleaning. It's just not as big of a day for campaigning most weeks. Could be, but this week's been kind of quiet overall. So I'm not sure who's going tonight. Some of the people online are like, I don't care who goes. I don't care who goes. I really don't care who goes among these people. And I don't know. If Kelly goes, it will definitely be a change in the house, because she is definitely someone who stirs the pot in lots of different ways, not just towards one group or one side or another. She just is kind of chaotic in her gameplay. If Lauren goes, it will probably be the least amount of change, because she was so tight with Riley for the last few weeks that her going won't be as noticeable, because she wasn't very involved with the rest of the house. Now, if she stays, she'll have the opportunity to become more involved and become a bigger part of the house as a whole. But she's got to really establish herself, and I don't know if she's still managed to do it yet. And then finally, if Ava goes, it will definitely be a change. It will be felt, and it will be felt significantly. Matter of fact, some weeks that would have been the biggest change, because she's that big of a character. But Kelly is such a big change, or such a big chaotic character, that'll be felt more than Ava leaving, in my opinion. Ava leaving will be felt in a different way than Kelly. Ava leaving won't necessarily change the house dynamics as far as alliances or things like that, because she is kind of seen as someone in the middle, but her personality will be missed. And actually, some of the grounding that she brings to the house, as far as calming people down, being a comedy relief, that kind of stuff, which could lead to increased tensions among others where they don't have that outlet of her, calming things. So, yeah, there you go. There's an in-depth, deep analysis. I like it when I do this sometime. And with that, guys, I am going to check out. I can't think of anything else to tell you right now. Of course, while I'm talking right now, I'll come up with that other thing. But no, we're going to sign off. Have a good Thursday. I will very likely be back later this afternoon with an update on whatever this blockbuster competition looks like, whatever Julie tries out, and we'll talk about that. Now watch this be the first week that she doesn't do it, but it's usually between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern time that they throw up an Instagram post of her trying out the competition. So we'll watch for that and have thoughts and share them with you this afternoon. And then we'll watch the show tonight and see who gets the boot. All right, everybody, be well. Thanks for listening. Take care, and we'll talk to you tomorrow or later today. Yeah, that. Bye.